Good evening. My name is John Murphy. I'm with Citizens for Responsible Government. Just a little housekeeping here. At the first meeting we had up at the airport, my concern was how much money Burns and McDonald has donated to city council and mayor's campaigns. And I was told to go home and read the newspaper. Glenn Horsley did a report on it, and I did. It looks like all city council members got $5,100 from Burns and McDonald. The mayor got $50,000. I just want that in the record. My big concern is this is turning into a very rushed process. I'm very happy that you've opened it up to other potential parties, but really, with this rush process and a 3-week RFP turnaround, how can you come up with a plan in 3 weeks, a credible plan? Second, given the parameters of allowing Burns McDonald the right to match any deal, how legitimate are the bids or participants you're going to get in this process? It's called a Swiss challenge, and it's done in entrepreneurial, enterprising countries such as Bangladesh, the Cameroon, other third world countries. It's usually considered a big bid process. So I would suggest you do something else. Third, will renovation be part of the RFP process? If not, why not? Thank you very much.
So we have another list here, and I will encourage anyone who has not had a chance to sign up. There are sign-up cards out front, and we have probably about another 10, 15 names to work through for 2 minutes. So with that, we have Noel Wood, Bruce Watkins Jr., and Mark, who will be on deck. So.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Noel Wood. Over these years that we've been hearing this constant drumbeat of we must tear down and basically do $1 billion downsize of our airport. I've talked to many people who love our airport, appreciate the convenience, find it much more convenient and much more easy and quick to access than other airports that we have flown in and out of. I am concerned also with the issue of the respect for the people who worked that land before we built an airport there. And the slave graves are a real issue that we should be concerned with. The constant drumbeat of we have to tear down what we have that we love, that we find very efficient, and replace it with a single terminal just smells. And I'm very concerned that at a time when taxpayers and travelers have to be careful with our money, it seems to me that the city should be careful with our stewardship of the airport that we have. I would like for us to give fair consideration to the Crawford plan, the remodel, and I appreciate your taking time to hear our concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Watkins, and as you're coming up, we'll say thank you to you and your family for hosting us tonight here at your dad's cultural center, and thank you for your lifetime commitment to service. Someone can help me with the mic or so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members. I'm speaking on behalf of the Bruce R. Watkins Foundation. The foundation met with Burns and McDonald to discuss their concept for a new airport. And based on that meeting, we believe Kansas City will benefit from a modernized airport, and that Burns and McDonald is the company to do it, get it done. The Burns and McDonald Company has been part of the Kansas City community for over 100 years. They understand our history and our values. We are impressed with Burns and McDonald and their commitment to building Kansas City community, not just a new airport. We are convinced that the Burns and McDonald plan can offer greater levels of service to travelers, but it's more than just about air travel. The folks at Burns and McDonald agree with us that the new airport should tell the story of Kansas City to millions and millions of visitors and travelers, particularly the contributions of the African American community from the era of slavery to the present. We see this as an opportunity for the airport to begin a new chapter of community involvement, including not only jobs and economic development, but explaining the role of African Americans and European Americans in regional and national history to millions and millions of travelers. We hope that you'll join with us in the Watkins Foundation and support this exciting new vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Rowe, I believe is how you pronounce your last name. They're out there is Ron Coker, Joe Davis, and Mark Anthony Jones to follow.
Good evening and thank you. Mark Robb here.
Use the mic there, please. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Mark Robb. I'd like to endorse what Bruce Watkins just said. I think we do need to bear in mind we're in a new century, and I think we need progressive thinking about a new airport. And I'm impressed with Burns and McDonnell as the agent to do that. I want to echo the fact that they've been in the community for over 100 years. They have a superb record, not only in construction and design, but we've heard from any number of people this evening that they've also been great community members. And I think that they will do a great job, not only building the airport, but in creating a new vision for the airport. I think they're going to be as mindful and sensitive about the airport's historical and cultural past as they are about its future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Coker.
Good evening. My name is Ron Coker. I'm Senior Vice President with Burns McDonnell. Can you hear me all right? Oh, this way? Oh, my apologies. My name is Ron Coker. I'm Senior Vice President with Burns McDonnell. I certainly want to thank the chairs and members of the committee and council persons for their willingness to listen to this dialogue with the community. As I think everybody here knows that since we proposed what we're talking about here tonight, where Burns and Mac stands, I would though like to talk just a bit about the importance of this project to the MPWD community, and as we think about building a new airport terminal, that we need to be thinking about how does this project set the standard for projects to come with respect to building capacity within our community. I'm certainly going to be here tonight. I would encourage anyone here that has a minority or woman-owned business, a small or local business, or an organization that is interested in this topic to come find me. We're going to be having our first outreach program this Thursday evening. So again, thank you for your efforts. Thanks to everyone here as well who took the time out of their day to come and testify. We love Kansas City International as well as the engineer of record on the current terminal. We're very proud of it, but we're certainly excited that we've created a dialogue and that the city's entered into a discussion as it relates to building a new terminal. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Joe Davis.
Good evening. I'm Joe Davis, owner of Custom Engineering. We're a 43-year-old engineering design firm here in Independence. And I just want to lend my support to Burns McDonnell and this new terminal plan. We've been working with Burns McDonnell for the last 10, 15 years, and they have demonstrated their commitment to small business and helping us grow and hire and create jobs and hire local talent, as opposed to seeing these great engineers go elsewhere, leave the state, and not stay right here in the city. Some general observations on the current project, current terminal. I don't feel that it is as safe as it could be. The close proximity of the passenger drop-off to the terminal is it is not safe. And I think if we just make some general observations, nothing you can do without with a suicide bomber, but that proximity is way too close. We got world-class talent right here in this town. Burns McDonnell and their staff and consultants and subcontractors. Subcontractors are excited about this. Another observation, I was in Memphis recently. That town's excited about a new terminal. Denver's going bonkers. We got to keep pace with our sister cities. We'll get left behind. We don't want to become another, I don't want to say it, but some of those cities that are declining. So we want us to keep pace for what cities are doing and keep the vibrancy of Kansas City going. So that's all I want to say. Just want to lend my support, and or we'll move forward and keep pace with what everybody else is doing. We got to get it.
Thank you. Mark Anthony Jones, then we have Warren Watkins, Cheryl Henderson to follow. Mr. Jones.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to the public. We appreciate it. The question that I had was about Burns and McDonald's donation to the $5,100, which we have learned that goes to your campaigns, and of course $50,000 to the mayor. So I won't get to ask that necessarily, but I will tell you that I've not talked to anybody on the street who doesn't believe that we have the most convenient airport in the country, and I fly in and out of it all the time personally. And I have been there while my plane was delayed 3 hours getting out, and I didn't stay in the little spot where I was supposed to probably. I was able to walk almost all the way around to about a half a dozen or 10, 12 other gates. So if you actually get up and walk around, you're not actually locked in. My grandpa used to have a statement. He said politics was many ticks, blood-sucking ticks. Now that's really bad to come from someone like me, being the chairman of the Jackson County Republican Committee, but I probably am more qualified than anyone else to talk about that. Yes, this process stinks. It smells, like Noble said. I believe that we need to back up. 20 days is absolutely not enough time when you're talking about $1 million house taking 6 months, and you've got this $1 billion, $1.2 billion, and you want to do it in 20 days. I know you've been working on it a long time, but you don't have the consensus of the public. They like what we currently have. It's safe, and it's very convenient, and it would be good if you actually fixed it up as you went along instead of letting it run down to the point that made everybody think, oh my God, we got to have this or we're going to die.
Thank you. Warren Watkins.
Hello there. I'm Warren Watkins, Watkins Foundation. History is a building block of all knowledge in one society. Most significant tradition that human beings have is storytelling. Oral history is the only source of documentation. Human interest stories that come from that 11,000 acres of hallowed ground can help form a blueprint for here. In Wallace, Louisiana, the Whitney Plantation, I'll leave a copy of this. Whitney Plantation is the only place in the United States of America that paid tribute to the slaves by putting their names on monuments, 120,000 names. The only place in the United States of America. When does the healing begin? Kansas City has a rich history, and you can't pick nobody from Japan to come in here and tell our story. That past history is a very sensitive issue. You got to have somebody from here to tell the story. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Henderson, Sharon Fulson will follow her. And then after that, looks like we have former Mayor Pro Tem Alvin Brooks, Gabriel Oglethorpe. Ms. Henderson.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here just as a citizen. I plan to attend and did not know I would be speaking necessarily, but I appreciate this opportunity. I want to say that I agree that a new airport is needed. I understand, and certainly like our airport as it is. However, it lacks many amenities that new up-and-coming cities have. I think there was an article in the paper about a research project that had been done that said our local leisure travelers love the airport. However, our out-of-towners, not so much. And as a leisure traveler now, I can understand that, but we travel at most 8-10 times a year, whereas we have out-of-towners who come in monthly, weekly, and this is who the airport is for, not us that are going to visit mom, grandma occasionally. So I think we need to pay more attention to that. Also, we talk about security, but if we look at things that have happened in London, they're saying now that security is, they're looking at places that are easily accessible. And we think it's secure, but it hasn't been tried. I don't see anything in the baggage area. I don't see anyone very often looking as though there's security. So I'm not so sure it's so secure because we haven't tried that. I think we are limiting our amenities, our food, our restaurants, our restrooms, internet, and so forth. And the last thing I want to say is I was extremely excited when I heard that Burns & McDonnell was willing to build the airport and not ask taxpayers for something. And we've been talking about airports for forever. To me, that's a gift that I don't understand why we're turning it down. We say we're quick, but we've been talking about this a long time. I know I don't have much time, but I'm just thinking we have these Johnny-come-lately companies from out of town that are talking about they want to come in and do things. I think we need to stick with companies that work for us, that pay taxes.
That's your time, Ms. Anderson. Thank you. Sharon Olson. With that, looks like Mr. Brooks stepped out as well. Gabriel, you're up next. Then to follow.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Council Committee, thank you for allowing me to give my testimony about this new project. I reside at 3820 Virginia Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm also the president of Alpha Energy and Electric at 34th and Troost. And I'm here on behalf of myself and also my company. I'm here to support the Bunsen Mac project. I think it's a very worthwhile project. Obviously, we've been talking about redoing our airport for very many years, and nobody else stepped up to present the viable plan until Bunsen Mac did. And now all of a sudden, everybody else is shooting our plans and I know what I'm looking at. So I think it's worthwhile to support the Bunsen Mac plan. We do travel around the country for our business, and I do use that airport quite a bit. We also do business overseas, so we have to travel quite a bit through that airport to other airports. While you might spend less time to get to your terminal here, then you end up spending hours somewhere you don't want to be, waiting for the next flight to the next. When I can fly from here, if I can fly from here to anywhere in the world, I would love to do that. Why would I give that up? So while we have a good airport now, what is being proposed is a better option for a city that wants to be a first-class city. You can't be a first-class city and not have a first-class airport. It makes absolutely no sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Former Mayor Pro Tem Al Brooks, you got 2 minutes. Let's see what you do with this.
Thank you. Can I take some of these other folks' hands off?
Oh, sorry, you got 2 minutes.
To the chair and members of the committee, thank you very much. 4 years ago, I sat on the committee, Aviation Committee, as a member of the City Council, 1999 to 2003. The same discussion we're having this evening came up then, except we had no one to step up and say, we'll do this for the city. I think Burns Mac's record speaks for itself. But let me say this to you. I have been in airports all over the world. From Singapore and Malaysia, Rome, Paris, Heidelberg, Germany, West Africa, Senegal, Mali, the Gambia, the Middle East, Egypt, Jordan, and Israel, and then throughout the United States. And the large countries, large cities have large airports. Our airport was good when it was built. It was good for what we wanted for at that time. Change sometimes is difficult to come by, and people can fight change. But what's good for this whole metropolitan area? I believe that KCI has to stay as and become more of the aviation mecca, if you will, for this part of our metropolitan area. It will be that if we end up going with a new airport. I think that we're very vulnerable having these 3 different terminals when you talk about post 9/11. I think we're most vulnerable. I think that with the way things are so organized now, we're very vulnerable. And I'd like to hear from the police and others, Homeland Security, about that. But I support the new airport. I think it's necessary. I think it further expands the economic development of the Northland, and I think further it expands economic development for the city as a whole. That's the front door to our city. And we'll make sure that that's the front door and the living room for our city, that it ought to remain a showpiece as well as something that we as a city and this metropolitan area can be proud of. So I urge on you to continue this. Thank you for your hearing. And I think that come voting time, I hope folks will vote yes for the expansion. And thanks to Vern McDowell for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Prentice Earl Bowes, and we have Stacy Webb to follow. And those are all the cards that I have up here. And so if anyone else would like to speak and you have not filled out a card, please do that at this time, or we'll try to entertain some additional comments afterwards. Mr. Bowes.
Good afternoon, City Council and Kansas City residents. Like I say, my name is Prentice Bowles. I've been a military vet. I've been in the military for 21 years in the Kansas City, Missouri area, and I'm proud. I love my country, and I love Kansas City, Missouri. Sometimes I'm for this. I love this country. I love this city too. Sometimes I feel that Kansas City is kind of getting left behind. I'm really support. I do whatever I can to support this project for this new airport. And like, I hope the Burns and McDonald's plan go through, and like I say, respect the cemeteries and the graves of the dead, like brother over here to my right said, and I will do my best to accommodate what I can do to try to help this plan go through in November.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Webb.
Hi. Thank you for hosting another forum. And so I would like to start out with, I would like to learn the 4 main reasons that we need a new airport. And I would like for it to be stated in user terms, not we need a bigger platform, because that doesn't mean anything to me. I have discerned that we need more direct flights. And so my sub-questions about that would be, then will we be guaranteed more direct flights, and how many more? And then just as a comment, I understand that this isn't supposed to affect our taxes, but I am very curious as to how much it's going to affect our ticket prices that we use when we fly out. And then lastly, I am not opposed to a new terminal, but I am very concerned about this process. I think it has been very haphazard. I know that we've been talking about this for a very long time, but since new bids were allowed a couple of weeks ago, that's really putting it back to square one. So I don't want to hear the mayor talking about, we've been talking about this for 6 years, let's move on with it. No, we're just now getting started. We may have been talking about it for 6 years, but we haven't been doing anything. So we need to have, and several people have mentioned, 3 weeks is absolutely not enough time. You can't do a small house. Somebody mentioned $1 million house. You can't do a small house in that amount of time. So we need to take our time, and I do question the bidding, the way it's set up to allow Burns and Mac, and I don't have anything against Burns and Mac. I am glad they are here in our city, headquartered in our city, and my time's up. So thank you very much for answering those questions. 3 other main reasons why we need a new terminal.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tillman, Stuart Tillman. And I would ask that as Mr. Tillman is coming, if there are other city staff who are out in the hallway, there were several questions that were posed. We will try to answer some of those questions after Mr. Tillman, or if there is any other public testimony. So if Galen or someone can maybe tell them to come inside, and we'll have Mr. Richardson read off some of those questions. Stuart Tillman.
Hey, thank you, panel. I just have a question, and it relates to something that I read relative to the terminal itself, that the city would own the terminal, and I'm wanting to know who will own the land. Is that an easy question?
We're answering questions at the end, so if you have any other questions, you've got about a minute and 30 seconds to go.
And the other part of this relative to the jobs, okay? Will there be the assurance that those individuals who have no skills, who can benefit from learning how to work, will be a part of this mechanism? Will there be those types of assurances for entry into the apprenticeship, other avenues of work? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any, those are all the cards that we have at this time. I really do appreciate all of you. But if there's anyone else that would like to make public testimony, we certainly will entertain that at this time for 2 minutes. Seeing none, we appreciate all of you for attending, and I would ask Rod Richardson, who is with our city communications department. He's been doing some scribing for us, as many of you have asked questions through your testimony. And so if we could probably take to the mic, and I don't think the screen is working here, but if we could maybe take to the mic and recite some of the questions. I know the director of the airport is here. We have our city attorney and some folks from Burns and Mack that can also answer some of the questions, and let the co-chair make some additional comments.
Appreciate it. I did want to clear up one thing that was cleared up today in the RFQP process. We've had a couple of comments tonight about a Swiss challenge, and we need to make this clear today. There was an addendum to the RFQP today that said there is no Swiss challenge or right of first refusal for anybody. And the process that will take place is that everybody who is interested in putting forth a bid will put forth the bid, and we will then interview the best and final folks who are putting forth those bids. So I just wanted to make that clear. That was qualified today as part of the RFQ process.
Still just 3 weeks?
It's the proposals are still due on June the 20th at 4 p.m., which is our standard procurement process.
Mr. Klein, if you want to maybe take a shot at some of the questions, I know that you've been taking notes as well, so we can probably just do a round robin that way, and you can maybe state some of the questions that you may want to take a shot at answering. State your name for the record so that everyone knows who you are as well.
Patrick Klein, 4005 Northeast 50th Area, Kansas City, Missouri 64109. Aviation director. Oh, sorry. Is that better? Several questions around number of gates. We mentioned this at the first hearing. We have 90 numbers on our slots. You know, the first terminal is 0 through 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90. We do not have 90 gates, nor have we ever had 90 gates at KCI. The most jet bridges we've ever had, even though we didn't use them all, was between 46 and 50. Currently, we have 30 leased gates at the airport. The current proposal has 35 gates, and those 5 gates could be used as international or regular gates as they're needed. They would be common use gates, expandable to 42. So currently we have 30 leased gates. The single terminal could eventually be expanded to 42 gates, which is not quite 30%, 33% increase that we have now. So there was lots of questions about that.
Before you continue, I think there is a question from one of our colleagues.
Thank you. How many gates do the 3 terminals have? It goes up to 90. So how many gates do they have?
Well, if we had jet bridge, if we had enough jet bridge,
I don't care about jet bridge. How many gates?
about 17 or 18 per terminal. You can there's the max you can.
Why
put
is
in
there the number up to 90?
It's like your the best example I can use. I'm 4005. My neighbor lives at 4009. So when they did the numbering, when I spoke to the folks who built it, they said that this was the way that they thought the numbering made the most sense. I mean, it does skip gates, but there's the most you can put in any one gate is between 17 and 18 terminals in a gate. So at max, you could put, when you can do the math, it's 50, 51.
Well, is the person are the people who designed the airport here tonight?
Let's try to make our way through the questions. Our council colleagues will. Well, I understand. Well, I think what she's asking is making sure that there's no misinformation, and I totally respect your opinion, and I want to make sure that we do this in a very respectful way. And so there has been a lot of questions.
I'm good with questions.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions you'd like to make, Councilmember Lord, at this time? No. Okay. Please, if you can continue, and please.
There was questions about scale drawings. We don't have a time frame, but at one of the last year, I think the first hearing, there was a statement, I believe, that the drawings would be, they anticipated the drawings before the election. I don't know if we will see drawings before the decision in August, so I can't really answer that question. There was a question of whether the airport was going to be green. The RFP that went out, the city standard is that buildings have to be designed to the LEED Gold standard, which is a very good standard, and the RFP that had that document in there, along with document for 1% art, and those type of standard city requirements. Sorry, I'm trying to read my own writing here. There was a question about the bus driver with the rental facility. He asked about where the commercial traffic would go. The single terminal proposal has the commercial traffic separated from the arrivals and the departures, and the commercial traffic goes into the parking garage. So the commercial traffic would be separated. A lot of statements, but not a lot of. Ms. Weld asked 3 main reasons, so let me give her 3 quick ones, even though there's more. Bad geometry and our hold rooms can't expand. Baggage claim that's not a single system that doesn't have any redundancies in it, and congested roadways of the 6 lanes that we currently have. So you asked for three quick things.
Roadways, but what was the first one? Put that in user terms.
So the hold rooms are the departure gates. So when you go through Southwest, I believe there's 9 gates there. The American one now with Allegiant, Spirit, and Frontier have 9 gates. We don't, because of the geometry of the building, it's 72 feet deep, and there's a security wall basically down the middle. So we funnel 11 million people through a 36-foot corridor every year. Those hold rooms are dead ends. So if you go into a hold room that's the Southwest hold room and you're on Delta, you're in the wrong hold room and you went in the wrong security line. So the hold rooms can't expand. I've got nowhere to go with the hold rooms. And we are getting more travelers, but not because of more flights. We're getting more travelers because the planes are getting bigger. The 50-seat regional jets are gone. They've been replaced with 100 seats. Even the 737s that Southwest fly used to have 133 seats. Now they've got 143, and 80% of their plane orders that are coming in with the Maxes, the 737 Maxes, will have 175 seats. So the flights that we have, even though we have the same number, have more and more travelers in there. And then with the addition of the requirements from the FAA to put in things like nursing mother stations, service animal relief areas, post security. So those are the kind of restrictions we have, and the only way to do that is to take out seats or take out current concessions. So our hold room sizes and then the inability to expand them are a problem. The other one were the roadways, because you've got all the traffic that goes into the airport in those 6 lanes, and that backs up. And each airline essentially has their own baggage system, and there's not redundancies. Typically, in a single airport, you'll have one baggage system that has redundancy. So if a bag belt breaks, they can route them around it. In our facility, when the bag belt break, like happened in December of 28th of 2015, you had the entire PSL by the Southwest ticket office full of bags, and they can only take those down on the elevators, and it takes 6 at a time. So it's a 4-hour fix to fix a bag belt. So there's 3 quick ones.
But that is one of the most convenient parts of our airport, is having the luggage right there in the
Okay, thank you for your comment. I want to make sure we're processing here through the questions, and if there's any more that you have, Mr. Klein, that you'd like to answer.
I think that's, oh, the question about who owns the land, the city owns the land. Job skills, I can't answer that question. Yep.
Let's maybe ask, and then we'll hold off for our colleagues here to maybe answer questions or make additional comments at the end. I don't know if anyone from Burns and Mac or our city attorney's office would like to respond to any questions that you all heard along the way today. Mr. Tallboy, Mr. Coker? No? Okay. Please.
Hi again, it's Ron Coker with Burns McDonald. I don't think we have any answers to specific questions that need to be asked, although we're certainly open and willing to try and explain the proposal as much as possible to the community. It is, and I guess the question I would take away was there was a question about cost to the community, cost to the citizens of Kansas City. What Burns and Mac has proposed is something that is not a financial risk to the citizens of Kansas City. It is not something that costs the taxpayers $1 to do. It certainly is something that is, in our opinion, needed for the city. It was mentioned that there was a survey that said that the travelers through KCI, if they weren't from Kansas City, they rated it very low. And if they were from Kansas City, they rated it very high. We understand the convenience component of that. I'm sorry, I don't know the ratio. It was just something that was mentioned tonight. We certainly understand the convenience component from the Kansas City traveler side, and it is our intention to design and build an airport that would be certainly just as convenient. And we also understand the importance from those outside of Kansas City to set the tone and set the impression of Kansas City as they come into Kansas City. So sorry I didn't write down questions as we went through, but I'll certainly stick around in the back of the room if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask of me.
Thank you. Mr. Tallboy, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. With that, let's maybe start. Councilmember Lohr, would you like to go first with any questions, comments?
What do you want me to do?
Questions or comments at this time as we wrap up? Okay. Mr. Fowler.
Well, I will only make a couple of comments, and I will say that when I first got elected and this process started, I didn't know whether we should leave it the way it is, whether we should remodel, or whether we should build a new terminal. Gained a lots and lots of information since then. My viewpoint has changed dramatically. A question was asked, why aren't we considering remodeling? Well, at the beginning of the process, before some of us were elected, remodeling was considered a viable option. In fact, about 3 or 4 years ago, it was considered the best option. And through the process, there were multiple ways of remodeling or redoing what we already had that were considered. And one of two things emerged. Either they did not meet the airline's needs or our needs for modern aviation, or they cost too much. And so in the process of doing this, the thing that winnowed down was that the most cost-effective way to proceed, coupled with trying to get our airport where it needed to be for modern airline aviation, and that takes a variety of forms, was to build a new terminal. Because anything that got us where we needed to be from the aviation side cost more than building a new terminal. So that's where we are now. The question is asked, why aren't we considering at this point? Ultimately, at the end of the day, the airlines guarantee the cost, not the taxpayers. The airlines guarantee the cost. They will not guarantee the cost of a rehab. They will only guarantee the cost of a new terminal. They've made that very clear. So we are now at the point of we either from their standpoint, well, I guess we would have another alternative. We could pay for it, the citizens, taxpayers. I don't want to. I'm not going to put that burden on anybody. So either the airlines guarantee the cost, or we do nothing. That, from my standpoint, are the options. We as a council will not make that decision ultimately. We will make a decision as to what we put on the ballot, but it will be the voters who make that decision, and I'm very content with that. So there's the position we're in right now. That's why we're seeing what we are. So when we go to the ballots, you will ultimately make that decision. Thank you.
Mr. McManus, ma'am, we'll be available for questions and comments throughout the meeting. Mr. McManus.
I'll be very brief. I just want to thank you all for being here. This is our third of 4 hearings. We have another one coming up at the end of this Thursday morning. Do we have a time yet? 9:15. At the 26th floor of City Hall. It'll be. I sit on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. I've not sat on the Airport Committee, which has been meeting now for 2 years. And so I've learned a lot through this process from hearing from you all, but we will have our 4th hearing right after Transportation Infrastructure on the 26th floor of City Hall at 9:15. And I want to thank city staff for being here and being able to answer the questions today. I look forward to the continued discussion at the next hearing. And appreciate particularly city staff getting the RFPQ process out there and getting it started for procurement so that we can get all the good ideas that are out there on the table.
So there was one question that was asked that I wanted to attempt to answer, and it had to do with the job training piece. That is included in the RFQP, so I would like you to take a look at that. But one of the things that we've requested for anyone who's putting a bid in is to tell us what their job training component will be as part of this. Additionally, Councilman McManus has already mentioned our final meeting. If you are here tonight, it's because you care about KCI, and we appreciate that greatly. I want to let you know that there is a lot of information that is available online, and if you have access, I would highly encourage you to take a look at it. As Councilman McManus mentioned, we've had about 1.5 years to almost 2 years of hearings right now, and several of these conversations have taken place. If you go to kcmo.gov/airport, you can take a look at everything that we've discussed here tonight. And if you were so inclined, you can go back and watch all of the hearings that we've had over the last 1.5 years. I would highly recommend, if you have insomnia, that might help you get to sleep at night. But one of the things in particular that I'd like you to take a look at on this is a presentation that was made in April of 2016. It is available. It is the recommendation that came from the airlines. They really laid out a lot of the reasons why they feel, after looking at this for 2 years, that this is the best option moving forward. And now, of course, we're having that conversation as a council and a community. And as Councilman Fowler said, ultimately it will be up to the voters of Kansas City. So if you are inclined and have access to the internet, I would highly encourage you to go to that website and take a look at it for more answers to your questions.